Netflix television show that has a very hyped up music scene. Are you caught up in the Stranger Things?
Oh, no. Don't do it.
All right, won't talk about it.
Yet.
Okay, cool.
Also, no, I'm not.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. It's very good.
No spoilers.
All right. I could just ruin the podcast right now.
You're gonna no Metallica talk. Is that what you're gonna talk about, Metallica?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Who's coming in here? We got people coming in. I'm on the wrong page. Who we got here? Rev. What's up, Rev? What's up, Thomas?
Hi, Rev.
What's up, Chris? How's it going? Looks like we're getting ready to do a little shoe here. After I make sure I promote it on my own social, where nobody will even care to watch, but whatever.
Oh,
all right.
Let me throw out mine.
Hi, Thomas.
There we go.
Pop out chat so I can see what people are up to.
Oh, Todd is here. I didn't see Todd. Hi, Todd. You were first. Jeff. Haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing? Cool. All right. It looks like everything here is running. We got a stream. We got 2 streams. We got all the streams. All the great streams. And Bill. What's up, Bill? All right. Maybe Matt will duck in if he's not having too much fun at Disney.
Okay.
Chime in and say hi in the chat or something.
The thumbnail still says Matt Koss and Dave Koss. Jesus Christ. Dave Koss and Matt Milstead.
Where do you see that?
When I was gonna post it on Facebook. I'm curious if it didn't update. Because I know that whenever you post something on Facebook, sometimes the thumbnail won't update. So.
Oh, thumbnail for what though?
Here, I'll just send you a quick message on.
You post into the YouTube stream? What up,
Yeah.
Impulse? The YouTube stream. Elly Wade. Where do you see Dave? Where do you see that?
Dave Koss and Matt Milstead. It's not that big of a deal.
Oh,
I think it's more interesting.
That's the podcast. That's the podcast show art. That's
Got
what
it.
that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Cool. I think we're ready to do a show.
Let's do it.
Y'all feeling good?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Here we go. What's up and welcome to another Mograph Mocast. I'm Dave.
I'm Jags, and joining us today is Elly Wade from Maxon.net.
What's up, everyone?
And Mograph is a supplement to our site, mograph.com, which is a motion graphics tutorial site with tutorials, plugins, podcasts, and other Mograph stuff. And on the show, we talk about everything ranging from motion graphics to Cinema 4D, After Effects, plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, or working for the man. You can email us, info@mograph.com. Let us know what you think about the show. Questions, comments, concerns, queries, grievances, artist suggestions, show topic ideas. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and all the things. You can find us everywhere, kind of. Mostly on mograph.com and YouTube. You can find the schedule info there. We don't post much on the socials right now. Kind of scaled back on that a little bit. You'll notice that Matt is not here today. That is because he's on vacation at Disney World, and maybe he'll send us a little hello in the text chat or something and say hi, or something. But I don't know. But we didn't have a show last week because it was the 4th of July, and I didn't want to miss 2 weeks in a row because I am actually also on vacation right now. But didn't want to miss 2 weeks in a row, so here we are. And another thing I got to mention here is that the studio here is based out of Texas, and Texas doesn't always have the most reliable power grid. So it has been warned that after 2 o'clock today, it may get a little hairy with the power and the rolling blackouts possibly. So there's a possibility it could happen during the show. So I don't know. We have enough backup power to last us a couple minutes if that does happen on all the things. So it'll be just enough for us to say, well, I think we got to get out of here and goodbye. So if that happens, we'll let you know. Otherwise, we'll move forward. No big announcements or anything this week. It is the usual summer lull. I feel like we always kind of say that, during the summer. We're just always kind of waiting for SIGGRAPH to happen so we can see what the new things are going on. one announcement that I do know of is there was a surprise update to Cinema 4D 26.1. So I have been so over my head in work, I don't even know what is in it. I have not had a chance to look. Maybe we can talk about that real quick. I'm
Yeah, we
assuming
can
Ellie,
talk about
take
that.
it away.
Yeah, you probably know better than we do, but I don't know. Do you know? I don't know.
I know a little bit, yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
so 26.1 came with a bunch of sort of updates to Cinema 4D. And yeah, I'll also talk about the Redshift ones as well, because as you guys know,
Yeah.
like Redshift is very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
So we have new curvature options for fields. So we can now use like the object's curvature inside fields to define like fall offs, color of clones, alignment, all of that really cool stuff,
Oh, okay.
which is nice and powerful. We have new beveling in like volume in the volume builder. So we've got one, improved performance, and two, we can now control the smoothness of our boolean based on radius, which is quite nice. We get some
Okay.
nice smoothing of those like boolean effects in the volume builder.
Mm-hmm.
A big one, as we know, when we went to NAB, I did a thing on rope simulations. Well, now the new cloth and rope sims can be influenced and controlled by fields and field forces, which is very powerful if that's the kind of stuff you're into, which I'm very much into, like dynamic simulation, Mograph. I love combining those things to get really fun, quick results. We
I
also
do remember
have
hearing about that. There's like if you had like a cloth sim going and you wanted like part of your cloth sim to like fall off and not do anything, you can do that. Is that basically what it is? Like if you said,
so
you know,
it can be
yeah.
so we could have in the same way that like field forces can affect and control particles, you could use the field force to control your simulations to create more interesting looking animation.
Yeah. Oh, there's Matt.
Sure.
He says
There's a
hi
Matt.
to everyone from Disney World. See, there he is, right on cue.
Go get a
Matt.
lightsaber.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah. What else? What else they got?
So we've got new performance for new and improved node UI sort of performance and appearance and sort of like interacting with our nodes, which is really lovely, especially for like Redshift nodes inside of there. We can now edit existing capsules inside of the object manager directly. So we do edit asset as group. So if you're used to working with capsules, you can now do that directly in the object manager. And another big one is if you're used to working with assets, so the asset browser, there are some amazing new surface imperfections and HDRI images and Redshift materials. So I know where I do a lot of kind of live workshops, people ask for Redshift asset materials. We now have them.
Awesome.
So it's a big, so yeah, 26.1 is a big one. And then just to talk a little bit about the Redshift stuff is we also have now bokeh, so depth of field in Redshift RT. We have improved performance for Redshift CPU and black body temperature controls in volume shading, which is nice and create really nice like smoke and fire, like temperature colors. Yeah,
awesome.
so
Very
it's
cool.
it's not just like the service pack anymore. It's a very big 0.1 release.
Yeah, see, I'm not much of a Redshift person, as everybody probably knows. So I'm not very aware of when this stuff comes out, what it is exactly. So glad you have that update, because I definitely don't, because I'm over my head to the point where I don't even update my Octane enough. You know what I mean? Like I'm just trying to get projects out the door and get through the summer.
Yeah.
And, but like that's really cool. I don't know if that's like, have they said, is that a regular thing now that Maxon's going to do, or was this just because they just wanted to get these features out, or?
Oh, I don't know how much I can say.
Checks
NDA.
Yeah,
check my. I know it's in this case it was things that I think they wanted to have done that perhaps weren't done for the initial 26.
Right.
And so now these point releases are going to be quite substantial.
Yeah.
releases with some really great additions, as opposed to just like, it has its normal regular bug fixes as well. So
Right.
that's sort of like the stuff I didn't talk about, but that's a given, as we know, like bug fixes every point release anyway. But yeah, this comes with some really massive stuff, which I think is pretty exciting for like the future of point releases.
So, what is your official title? I don't think I know.
So my official title is Trainer and 3D Workflow Specialist.
Okay. And what does that
is the-
entail exactly? What's your day to day?
My day-to-day is a lot of live training. So if anyone's seen any of like the Max on Train Team YouTube channel, we do a lot of live shows, workshops, webinars, whatever you want to kind of title them. And we have particular series. So we do like demystifying post-production, which is Mondays. For me, they're 5 p.m. till 6 p.m., which I think is like 9 a.m. Pacific. And the idea of that is we do a different topic every month. So at the moment we're doing particles, and it's particles across a whole range. So I literally jumped from the demystifying session today here, and we had Bob Ormsley from Insidium. So we were doing particle stuff in X Particles, and they were also going to look at Houdini. We looked at native cinema. And so that is one of the series. We then I do a lot of hands-on with Maxon, which is, it's more of like a workshop that's run over 4 or 6 weeks. And at the moment I'm doing what's called a C4D level up with my good friend Matt. And it's sort of a lead on from our beginners workshop, and each session is 2 hours long. So we get to really dive into the different tools. We do a whole load of Q&A because they're all live. These are all live sessions.
Right.
So we get the benefit of interacting with our wonderful audience and our wonderful kind of people that come and choose to spend that time with us live. And then we do some YouTube live streams. So Max does Max on Color, which is a lot to do with color management. He had Cullen Kelly last week going
and it's
through
Max
all like the
on
stuff.
Color, not Max on Color.
Yes,
Max
it's not Max on
Color.
Color, Max space on Color.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
was, I thought, a really clever play on words.
Yeah.
And we do our Ask the Trainer as well. And then VFX and Chill. You know, we have such a range. Like the whole team are incredible to be putting on almost like daily live streams or kind of workshops and whatever. So that's
Yeah.
probably what takes up a lot of my day-to-day role. Prepping for those, planning, hosting, attending them. And
It's
then
a lot. Y'all go for like a long time on those streams, for hours.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
prep.
So it is a lot of prep, but I mean, we've got, as you know, we've got an amazing team and a whole wide range of, not just like the Max on Train team, but we have amazing guests. So like Dustin, Valkama, you have Lionel, VC Domine, Anna Carolina. They all, like these amazing like ZBrush artists or Redshift artists or Cinema 4D artists, they come on these shows with us and they just take it to like the next level. And so we do have a whole range of help with the amazing team and the amazing people that want to join in. But yeah, that's like the largest part of my job. And then I do sort of custom training. So we have what are called like volume or teams customers. So if you have a certain number of licenses, you're entitled to free training with like one of our trainers. And so that is part of my job. I do sort of like 1-to-1 or 1-to-5 or 1-to-10. And they say, hey, we want to learn about Mograph, or we want to learn about Redshift. And so I will plan an entire session, whether it's 1 hour or 2 hours, specifically for them, which is, yeah. And then the rest of it is just learning new tools, new features that I can't talk about. But yeah, so that's sort of all of those things encompass my job and events as well.
Cool. Now, hopefully,
I have a question.
Hopefully, my mic is good. Somebody said that my volume was down. I realized my compressor was accidentally turned off, so hopefully I sound better now. Your question, Jags. Go for it.
So Ellie, when we were at NAB, you said that you used to coach soccer and now you coach Cinema 4D, so to speak. Do those skills carry over, teaching athleticism to teaching art and art tools?
It's It's different in the sense is it's a completely different thing, you know, like coaching people how to like the active side of things versus the technical side. And I think everyone can probably agree that I am not the most technical person, but I think when it comes to having potentially, I don't know, like the confidence to teach someone and know how to perhaps explain something in a way where someone who doesn't understand it can pick it up, I guess those are transferable skills. So I've coached, like the youngest age group I've coached is under 8s. And so they're like 6 and 7 years old. And so you really have to think of a way that this particular age group are going to understand what I'm saying versus if I was talking to an under 18 group who are 16, they're 17, those are the different things. And it's the same when you're training someone in anything. So if you're training someone in cinema 4D, if they're completely brand new, if they're completely brand new to cinema or 3D, I need to think of how I'm going to teach these tools to someone who doesn't have any experience or knowledge in the industry versus someone who would. And I like that because I was one of those people that had no experience. So I like that. So yeah, I guess they have their differences, but I guess it definitely would have helped me out, especially at the start of training.
Well,
cinema.
you figure that, like, you know, it would be easy for an AI to do that kind of thing, right?
Yes, they just programmed me
Yeah.
to do it.
So the joke was that, it was like the 26 intro video, like with the features, right? Wasn't that the video when we were at NAB?
Yes,
when it came out?
The spring launch. So I was asked to be part of the spring launch, and part of that was to do a 2 to 3 minute recording on said piece of software, which for me I was doing the Redshift. And I was doing it here, and I had kind of like, I've got like a blackout blind, I had like the lights on, and for some reason people were, I don't know whether because like my lip sync was slightly out or the LED lights, people were adamant that it was an AI.
Yeah.
And I feel like after the first like 10 seconds, like if you watch the YouTube live stream, the comments were amazing, and we all watch it because, you know, we want to be part of it, we want to hear and see people's first reactions. And I feel like as soon as that comment was made, no one listened to the remaining like 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
It's just all AI convo after that.
It was yeah. And then I don't know whether like initially it was like a joke comment, but then it was like, hang on, is she actually an AI? And I was thinking, if people think I'm that good at like cinema, I'm taking it.
Well, I think it was a combo of like your lighting and like it's like the video. Sometimes when the video is almost like too crisp, it will almost look fake, you know, kind of like you know, you see all the flat earthers that say, oh look, that's just green screen because something just has too clean of a line on it or something, you know. I guess that's why they thought that, but
yes,
you know,
but as you can see, I am a real normal person. I'm not an AI.
Well, maybe when, you know, you can right click on just about anything in cinema and say show help, you know, maybe they need to figure out an AI way to do that, you know, to where you just pop up and then you
just tell you what this button does.
Yeah, you just read it.
Should we do that as a feature request?
Yeah.
I mean, this could also be
come on, Rick.
Also be a situation where Elly is programmed to tell us that she is a real person, and we're really just talking to a metahuman, and I want to know who rigged this because this looks so good.
Right. Thanks, Google. But I know that Jags, you really want to talk about the Halo stuff, VFX and Chill, but real quick, but not really quick. Let's talk about your background, and let's talk about like how you ended up at Maxon and everything in the first place. Did you go to school for this, or how did you end up in this?
Okay, so I love and hate telling this story because it really outs me for having zero professional background. So no, I didn't go to school or college or university for any kind of art or creative thing. So in school, so for me, I'm like school being, you know, I'm thinking, let's do ages so people in America know. So up to the age of 16, I was doing like normal GCSEs, and they were just like, sport. I did history, I did a bit of art. And then we have 16 to 18 is what we call sixth form. And in sixth form, you can choose like a select number of courses, like 3 or 4, and you do them for 2 years, and you get what we would call an A level. And I did photography, art, music technology, so sort of like Cubase, Pro Logic, that kind of cool stuff. Was it that? And yeah, sport. Those were my 4, and those are like my highest qualifications. At 18, I left school and I got a job in like a retail hardware store called Homebase, and so I worked there when got a job at 16, and I was sort of like doing part-time shift, like a Friday night and a Saturday, my spare time out of school.
Computer hardware or like lawnmower hardware?
Like DIY, like building like drills and wood and things like that. So as you can tell, I had loads of experience at 16 on that. And at 18 they were sort of like, oh, you can have like a full-time job here and be operations manager in charge of stock and that. And I thought, oh, okay. At that point I didn't know what I wanted to do. I kind of liked sport, kind of liked being creative, kind of liked music, but there was no, or not that I was aware of, I didn't really know of like the next step. And so I thought, you know what, someone's going to pay me full-time money. Cool, I'm going to have full-time money. And so I never actually went to university. Fast forward a couple of years, like, I don't know what, 4 years later perhaps, I'm about like 22, and I'm working as a regional sports coordinator. Basically, I was going into schools, I was doing sport lessons, I was doing football coaching, all of that stuff. But that was a lot of driving around. It was a lot of kind of evenings and weekends. And I thought, you know what, no, let's try and find something that's a bit more of like a normal day-to-day, Monday to Friday job. Had 2 dogs at the time, so I needed to find somewhere that was near enough for me to be able to go and walk the dogs, look after the dogs at lunch. So I did, what standard 22-year-old would do with no qualifications, entered like a job site and just hit within a 5-mile radius. So I entered nothing in the search bar, 5-mile radius. And like the top thing was this sales job at Maxon. Didn't know what Maxon was. At no point in the job description does it say anything to do with being creative, 3D software. It just says sales experience. And I thought, okay, well, I worked in retail. Technically, that's sales experience, right? So I applied for this job. Somehow got an interview, and remember walking in to this incredible, like really lovely, like house-looking office. Like from the outside, you'd think it was just a really nice house. Walked in and they had movie posters all around, and I thought, okay, maybe it's just like a cool aesthetic. Maybe they're just there for whatever reason. And a guy called Liam Stacey, who was the UK regional manager at the time, brought me into his office, sat me down, and was like, okay, what do you know about like Maxon and Cinema 4D? And my advice to people is to research the company before you go.
Probably
because
a good idea.
I was like, I don't know what this is. And so he showed me the show reel before we even had a conversation. And I remember at the end of it, so this was like 2015. So he showed me the 2015 show reel. And at the end of the show reel, I was like, I absolutely am not leaving this room without this job. I was like, I didn't even know this is what I wanted to do. I was like, but this is what I want to do. And he gave me the job, which like, thank you so much, because clearly he changed my life. And I have no idea why he gave me the job, because as we all know now, I have no experience.
But you,
which I don't mind saying.
But you were going to start though doing sales though, right? So
yes.
Is that what you started with? How did you end up doing actual training?
Yes. So my first couple of years I was doing sales, like selling the software, like answering emails, answering calls, all of that kind of traditional stuff that a lot of companies have to do. But in the spare time, Liam was like, you know what, teach yourself. He was like, look, you've got art photography, music tech background. He's like, teach yourself the software. It will help when it comes to selling it.
Right.
Which he was 100% right. It did help when it came to selling it, because you can talk a bit about it to like the studios and the artists. And I did the old Getting Started series. You know, when you create the rocket, have you guys seen it on Cineversity? You sort of like create the rocket.
I don't.
I've come
know
across
that.
it,
I don't
but
know
So
that
that
either.
was that was the
taken it.
original. Yeah. So now we have like EJ's like amazing like fishbowl submarine Getting Started series, but the old
Right.
one was this sort of like rocket that you build. And I remember I sort of got about like 4 episodes in, and I was like, this is so cool, like this is so amazing. So all of my spare time that wasn't like selling, because there were 3 of us who were in sales. So as you can imagine, my kind of like 8 or 9 hours of my day wasn't entirely filled with selling at every minute. And so at any point I was inside of Cinema 4D watching Grayscale Gorilla tutorials. I was on YouTube, 3D Fluff as well. I'm trying to think of all 3D Fluff. Yeah, I'm trying to think of all the others. EJ, I mean, of course EJ,
yeah.
Cineversity, all those guys that like I now sort of like see sometimes in person at events, and I'm like, oh my god, this is mad. Because they genuinely are the people that I learned from. And eventually I think sort of like in between then selling, after like maybe like a couple of years, they were like, okay, why don't you start doing tutorials for the Maxon UK YouTube? And I was like, yeah, sure. Did a couple for Cineversity. And then when we merged, I'm gonna get my years wrong, when we merged with Red Giant, so we did the merger back in
December 2019-ish.
December 2019, is that right? Was it
Right
December
before
28?
right before the pandemic.
Yeah, right. So literally, right bang before the pandemic, we merged with Red Giant, and I got an email from Paul Babb, amazing guy, head of marketing at Maxon, introducing me to Simon Walker, who is now the current director of training, who was doing all the training at Red Giant. And I think it was like, hey Simon, meet Elly, you're gonna want her in your team. Best regards. End of thing. And I was like, what's going on? And that was literally my intro to being a trainer. From that email, I then became a full-time trainer.
It's so weird. Like it was the same thing for me, like being at an ad agency, watching the Maxon presentations and seeing like all these people up there, like Matthias and EJ, and now they're like we're like best buds. You know what I mean? Like, because when you don't hang out with these people, you have no idea. Like I kind of like, I'm like, oh, Nick Campbell and all these people, like it's so weird, because you then meet them and you feel like you can't approach them because it's like they're superstars, and then you realize like they're totally cool and totally like, you know what I mean? They're like totally awesome, and you know, you become friends, and then like everybody in the community is so accepting. You don't feel that feeling of like, oh, I can't go talk to them anymore, because you realize that when you meet them, you know, they put their pants on, you know, 2 legs at a time, just like everybody else. And nothing.
Yeah,
okay.
no, I definitely like felt that when I went to NAB Vegas like early this year. It was like the first time I was meeting a lot of people and Maxon people for the first time. And I remember sort of like seeing like all these like amazing artists, and I was like, oh, like I don't want to go and say hi to them. And then by like day 3, like we're all just like hanging in the casino or like having drinks, and I was like, yay.
Yeah. Or even,
but everyone's
of
just
course,
super friendly.
Beeple, you know, for example, the best example of that. You know, everybody thinks that he's unapproachable, you know, but like he's totally cool and totally awesome to hang out with, and just like all of us. And I think it's really cool though that being in sales, you went through that process to learn. I see that in a lot of people. I mean, like look at Kevin Rupp, for example. You know, it was kind of the same thing. Came on to do social media, and now he's like making his own NFTs, and you know, owns a Bored Ape and all of that fun stuff. You know, but there's a story. I'm not sure if I've told it on the show before, but we were at a booth, I think at NAB East at one point, and Paul was sitting there working on some stuff, and he's there to talk to people. And there's a guy who came up, like a lot of people do at these trade shows, and they are salespeople, like for anything, right? Like sales is what they do. So they'll come around and give a card. Oh, if you need anything, just let me know. And this one guy comes up, he was like, hey, I do sales. I can sell anything. And I don't want to get the story wrong. I may not have this exactly right, but Paul said something along the lines of, okay, well, what do you know about our product? He's like, it doesn't matter. I can sell anything. And Paul was like, yeah, it probably helps if you know our product, though. And it's true. Like, Paul knows the product. He may not be like he's not Beeple. Of course, none of us are Beeple, but he knows the product so that he can talk about the product, and it's really important. And like that's one of the special things about Maxon. When people are always asking me, why should I go with Cinema 4D over something else? Like, I always talk about the community, I talk about the support, and I talk about the people, and that's really what it is. It's people who actually care about what they're doing. They're not pulling Joe Blow off the street and saying, hey, we need you to just, hit these numbers. We don't care. You just need to sell it. You don't have to know it, but it's better if you do know it.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. The community feel at Maxon and the surrounding kind of people and groups and community around this entire sort of company are all just, everyone I meet, I'm like, I love this person. This person's great. That person's great. And that truly is the way that I think it is at Maxon. Everyone that I've met, we recently did our sort of like a full company get together in Germany, bunch of people meeting for the first time. And I met like Jonas, who I've worked with for a number of years at Maxon. We've both been here for sort of like 7 and a bit years. I met him for the first time. I speak to this guy every single day.
Yeah.
And we kind of like he got up from, there was like a beach bar, and it got up as I arrived, and we just like ran and just like hugged each other because we feel like we all know each other. And I think that's the case for like the wider sort of teams as well inside of Maxon. But yeah, especially just like meeting people for the first time, they are exactly how you thought they would be. And yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, that's how it was, like especially with Jags with you and with Winbush. We were working with Winbush. Winbush had a course, still has a course on Mograph.com, and like we hadn't even met each other in person ever. It's so weird, like the way that technology, but I guess the pandemic has like kind of like accelerated that. People doing business over the internet and never even meeting each other in real life. It's so weird, So let's talk about this episode of VFX and Chill, because I know Jags is like dying to get into this. He has so many questions, and we have a thing about the show where before we get on and before we go live, like we don't talk about any of the things we're going to talk about, because if we do, it's never as good the second time around. So Jags has been like holding back to ask about this, so I'll let you take it from here. Explain what it is first. And
well, how about Elly? You explain to us what it is, and then I have some thoughts, some not comments on what you did, but like on the thing that you were inspired from, and I'd love to hear your technical thoughts on how that was executed. So take it away.
Okay, yeah, sure. So yeah, to start off, VFX and Chill is a live show that Seth and Hashi and Michael run on like the Red Giant YouTube and the Maxon YouTube every Friday at about 10 a.m. Pacific, and they're on for about like 90 minutes to 2 hours. And basically the idea is that they do a whole bunch of different VFX stuff. Sometimes they'll get like Perception, for example. They had like the VFX team on. They talk about stuff from like Marvel films. They then try and break things down whilst teaching processes inside of After Effects, Red Giant tools. It's like an incredible show where you learn so much stuff, but you also have the best time. So whether you're watching or whether you're attending, I'm sure if you guys have seen it, their personalities, like all three of them together, just bounce off each other. They have a joke, they have a laugh. And so it's not like a 2-hour session where it's like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, which is great. Like I love things like that. It's what I do a lot of the time. But it's like you're hanging with like the guys, but also
Right.
learning how to do really amazing VFX stuff at the same time. So they asked if I wanted to sort of like jump on Friday's session. And so at the Germany meeting, one of the things was like, oh, can the trainers run like a brief session on something, whether it's Redshift or Cinema 4D? And I chose to make a couple of the Halo TV series, or as close as I could, try and recreate some of those effects. And so Seth and Hashi were like, hey, why don't you come on to VFX and Chill and do that, talk about that in a bit more detail and show some like breakdowns. And of course I was like, absolutely, like I'd love to hang with you guys. And yeah, so for anyone who's not seen it, like I don't know whether we can like drop links or anything, but there is the Halo TV series came out recently. So for anyone who doesn't know, Halo is that incredible game on the Xbox, and a bunch of different artists, clients, production teams came together to put together a title sequence for it. And if you haven't seen it, it is probably one of the most amazing things I've seen. Like it is like these particle effects coming together. It's like armor forming. You've got like ZBrush models in there. It's like every cool thing to do with like our industry merged together to create this thing. And there's a whole bunch of different people. So VFX artists, directors, you've got lighting people, rigging, ZBrush artists, sculptors, concept artists. Like a big group of people came together to do this. And yeah, with a bunch of different software as well. So this is the main thing. A lot of, Houdini. I think there was some Blender, there was some ZBrush, Mantra.
Or ZBrush, as you say over there, right?
I say ZBrush now.
That's a good question, actually. Are you supposed to call it ZBrush even if you're overseas, because that's like technically like the trademarked name, or do you say ZBrush? I know you don't say, but I hear it that way.
Do you know what? I don't know. I say ZBrush. I just think it sounds smoother to say ZBrush, and also everyone I hear talks about it as ZBrush.
Right.
So yeah, I guess technically in the UK I probably should say ZBrush.
Yeah.
But I also spell color now without the U, because in Redshift nodes it's spelled
right.
COLOR.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gradually converting, just not the accent.
Do you play
Everything
Halo?
else. I used to. I'm PlayStation now.
Oh, okay. I see
love
how
my
it is.
PlayStation.
End of podcast.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh man, you're missing out. It's a pretty good. The new one's pretty good. We haven't played in a while.
It's very good. Yeah. It's very
Xbox
good.
wanna sponsor me and send me one.
Well, it's on
yeah.
PC, so.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no excuses. It's on PC. And you're gonna tell us you're a Mac person, right?
I feel that will be my second strike if I
Yeah.
Okay.
Now it's over.
All right.
no.
The third strike will be the power outage. So yeah.
Yeah.
So, Halo is very near and dear to my heart growing up with it. And when the show was coming out, when I heard that they announced the show, I was so stoked. And when I saw the show, I have thoughts, and we're not going to talk about the thoughts on the show. The intro is beautiful. From a cinematic motion graphic standpoint, mind blown. I'm bummed that they did not get the license to use the iconic choir Halo track, and I think it could be better. And I have this itch to like remake it entirely just with the original track.
Do it.
And all of like, and I'll probably just watch the VFX and Chill episode. I've scrubbed through it a little bit, but I haven't been able to like sit down and like actually like dissect it entirely. And when I saw the Halo intro, I was like, that has to be X Particles or Houdini, but you're doing it with cinema tools, it looked like. So can you tell us a little bit about the tools that you use to execute on that? Are there any like different hurdles that you have to go through, like UVing the mesh or anything? Tell us about the technical stuff, because I'm a big nerd and I want to know.
No, of course. Yeah. So I wanted to sort of challenge myself to try and do it in just Cinema 4D and Redshift. So I know, like, a lot of time you would look at a shot and be like, okay, this was done in X particles, which a lot of it was, and in Houdini. And so to recreate something similar, you would normally have to use similar tools. But I thought, no, let's see how close, or how accurate we can get just by using Cinema and Redshift. And I thought I was going to give myself a bit of an allowance. Like, if I couldn't match it, I wasn't going to like cry about it, because, you know, X particle and Houdini, amazing particle tools.
Right.
And so the sort of main one I wanted to try and recreate. So I did a couple of different ones, different shots. I started off with just doing like a normal particle simulation using C4D's native particle emitter, following a spline and a field force, adding turbulence, and then using the Redshift object tag to convert those particles into objects or little fragments inside the render view. And because of doing it that way, you can really like push up the number of particles that are being emitted, because you're not emitting geometry. It's all being done in the render. So that was sort of like the starting point that we went with, just sort of see how everything went together. The next one was there is a particular shot. So there's actually a whole like Behance sort of, I don't know what you call it, like a project or something on Behance, where they actually talk about, they talk about all of the different shots, the amazing people who did them, and they have sort of like their R&D stuff and some of the finals. And so I was using those to try and get a closer result. And yes, there's one where there is the armor, and it's being formed, and it sort of looks like these.
Yeah.
I like, to me, it was like a volume builder with noise, and the noise was sort of like forming this mesh. And so I thought, okay, that like definitely could be done using volume builder with like random field and then linear field, working with blending modes. And I was quite happy with that result, actually. I think I got relatively close to that final design. But then the main kind of like shot that they do is this armor coming together. It's forming in the same way that kind of like we worked on the previous one, but we also have particles coming off of those particular areas, and we have like texture changes. And I thought, okay, let's see how we can get with that. And so I have to shout out Jonas Pills, because he helped me, especially with like how to emit particles from certain areas. And then we just sort of combined everything together. And so I got the armor, and the starting point was you can emit particles, thinking particles, from a selection, but not from a vertex map. So my initial thought was, okay, let's try and control like a vertex map, growth, emit particles, have a texture change. But you can emit from a polygon selection. So did a polygon selection, and then used a shader field. So with polygon selections and vertex maps, we can use fields in there. There's a little checkbox that says use fields. All you gotta do is click that. And so, yeah, on the initial polygon selection, used a shader field, and then with just like a noise that then generated these particular areas. Then created a vertex map, put that polygon selection into that vertex map. So I've now got the polygon selection sort of growing with the noise, but I've also now got the vertex map doing the exact same thing. So I can use the polygon selection inside of thinking particles. So I set up some Expresso, and super simple Expresso, because, you know, not technical at all.
Set driver, set driven. Done.
So matter waves is a way of generating particles, and then inside of matter waves, so when you open up your little Expresso node editor, add a new node that's called matter waves, and then in there we've got loads of different ways of like changing the count, the size, the like birth, life, etc. But you also have emit from an object and emit from selection. So you put in your armor or your object, and then you put in your polygon selection, and then now what happens is, as my polygon selection appears and grows, my particles emit from those areas. And so then it was just a case of combining all that stuff together using the vertex map version to change my texture, and even use that as like the control of the opacity. So we can create the forming with the vertex map, and then at the same time the particles are being emitted. And then you can take like TP geometry. So the TP geometry is then taking your particle group, and then you can put your redshift object tag on that TP geometry. Wow. And then effectively you then have your texture changing in redshift, and you have your thinking particles which are being converted into like, I don't know, a custom object or a sphere inside of your render view. And I'm actually in the process of trying to get a better looking render today.
I feel like you almost have a plugin here. You've almost built a plugin, you know. Can you make that so we can
just change the polygon selection?
Yeah,
that's what you'd need to change.
Yeah, just drop in your own geo, and you're good to go.
That's super cool, because I went on the Behance site as you were going, and I was just like dissecting it a little bit, and I see like 30 people in the credits, and you're just doing it by yourself in cinema. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah,
it's definitely not as good.
And I bet. How long have you been working on this?
So Jonas showed me how to do that, I think. So when did I do it with the guys? I did it on Friday. I think he showed me on like Tuesday how to emit from a polygon selection. And yeah, I didn't really, oh my God, I'm going to admit, I didn't really work on it until Friday afternoon, because I had like live streams going on like Wednesday and Thursday. And so I worked on it on Friday.
Yeah, one person with like, let's say 1 to 2 days, that's a pretty good start. So that's super cool. I'm really curious as to like what render engine that they use for that. Do you think that, like, let's say we locked you in a room for like a month with 2 MacBook Studios or Mac Studios, do you think you could come out with something of equivalent quality if that's the only thing you did? No?
No way. No, I wish I could say yes. I think I come up with something like pretty okay looking, but I mean, like, you know what? I did actually have a list of all the software that they use. Let me.
Yeah, I was curious what they ended up actually using on this, because I'm sure that they had like a million programs. Like this one here, it's like I see all these particles and things. I'm like, that's Houdini, you know, that kind of a thing.
Yeah. So here we go. Sorry, I've just got it up now.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Share.
So it's Cinema 4D, Octane, Redshift, X-Particles, Houdini, Mantra, Blender, After Effects, ZBrush, and V-Ray. There may be more, so I apologize to everyone who made this.
So every major product, program, and render engine available. So just all the things.
Basically, everything was used on it.
Wow.
Yeah, so I definitely wouldn't be able to do something as incredible. And there were so many people incredible people who worked on it as well. But I would like to see how far I can get with this particular sort of shot where everything is forming, the particles are coming off, and the texture changes. I think, that's sort of like, that's kind of my plan for this.
Well, I'm a Halo nerd, so if there's any point where you're like, you need a second pair of hands, I volunteer. So there's that. Another thing I wanted to ask is, like, obviously it says they use Redshift and Octane and V-Ray. And one of the things that I have noticed, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but X-Particles with different render engines like Redshift, it doesn't quite land as well as using what X-Particles wants you to use, which is cycles. One thing that I've ran into in the past is like getting motion blur to work correctly. So if you were to like really dive into this, do you think that native cinema tools, again, locked in a room for 2 months by yourself, do you think the native cinema tools with enough attention could execute on it? So just using Cinema 4D and Redshift, could you take that like long list of software and cut it down and have something like passable? Let's say not just you, like a team there, a team and you executing on this?
Just doing cinema and Redshift. We wouldn't be able to match it. Like, absolutely, we wouldn't come close, even with like an incredible team, because like Houdini and X Particles are, well, mainly X Particles is known to be like the particle simulation, and Cinema 4D as kind of like as okay as the native emitter is and thinking particles is, it still does have its limitations. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, it's the best particle emitter in the world, because you'd all be like, Ellie, you're a liar. But that being said, especially combining with Redshift and combining with different tricks and techniques that are things that you don't really think about, I think you could create something pretty cool that I think people would look at it and be like, as if that's cinema and Redshift. And I think that would be the level I'd want to get it to, if I could make something, whether with it's like a team of like artists or some of like the Maxon trainers. If we could create something that made people go, no way is that just cinema, I'd be satisfied and be like, yeah, we've done well.
You should do that.
Sounds like a challenge.
You should totally do that.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty cool. I mean, we're partway there.
Push
I've got
it to
some
the
of the
limit.
base. We've got the base
I
stuff.
volunteer, so if you need a second pair of hands, let's go. Let's remake it.
I would be so up for that. I'd be so up for it.
If that does happen, I do request that we take the original track from the iconic video game series and like do our own twist on that, but that's a whole separate discussion.
I'll compose
I may
the
even
music
buy an
for you.
Xbox.
Yeah. Now I'll compose like a something that's just different enough for you, Jags, that it's like it's the intro but it's not, so you don't get tagged in copyright.
Okay,
you know?
that's fair.
I'll make it happen. I got some
Okay.
I got some good sound libraries I could pull from. I might have to record the intro myself, you know. Yeah.
Cool.
I'll be the choir. I'll be
Oh,
the
hell
choir in
yeah.
the background, you know. I'm sure I'd be fine.
Have we just agreed to doing a whole thing?
Jags
Live.
has. Jags has.
Let's
I
do
don't
it.
know. I don't know.
I'm definitely up for this. Yeah, that would be amazing.
I have too many Halo projects on my plate.
Right.
But let's do it.
It's all the Halo projects.
Just one
Yeah.
more. What's one
Yeah.
more?
Yeah. So we have a Halo group. I don't know if we talked about this before or not. Maybe talked about this at NAB or not. But we have a Halo group where it's a bunch of motion designers and we all hop on and play Halo. We haven't been doing it much lately. I feel like everybody has been slammed all summer, but we play, and we also have a text chain here in the States, where some of us are on a text chain if we have an iPhone, and we'll text back and forth about, you know, hey, anyone want to play Halo or whatever, or we'll get in the Discord and say, hey, anyone want to play Halo. But for a while, actually, we're doing our own Halo renders. Different people in the group would do their own Halo render. So I feel like this would just, you know, take the cake on all of that. But you're going to have to get into Halo and play with us a little bit, though, I think.
I might have to get myself an Xbox.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Please do.
Yeah.
I will. It's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
I do.
we
Yeah,
should-
I like a bit of gaming, so.
We should at least get you connected to the our Instagram where we post Halo renders.
Yeah.
Every once in a while we'll post something. I made something the other day. I just haven't posted it. But it's like for me, it's our place to experiment and try things. And I think it sounds like that's what you're doing with this Halo intro series. You're just trying stuff to see if it works. And I think having that sort of playground and that mental headspace to just let yourself explore is really valuable.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps, especially when sort of like the life as a trainer, trying to sort of like come up with new things and interesting things that is going to excite and inspire people, and just finding new ways of learning tools. So kind of we can watch a tutorial, which I think is a great way of learning. It's definitely how I've learned everything. But now with the sort of slight bit more experience that I have in cinema, I like to see something like this, for example, or see something on Instagram and be like, you know what, I'm going to see if I can make that and learn how it was done, or make a version. And yes, I didn't know that polygon selections can emit particles with matter waves. I didn't know that. But through this sort of journey and this exploring, thanks to Jonas as well, I now know how to do this. And I now know it enough that I was able to teach it on VFX and Chill.
Right.
And so I definitely love, like you said, sort of having that time to play and explore and just be creative. And it just helps me learn Cinema 4D and learn Redshift and learn new tools that I maybe wouldn't have initially thought of. I was just like playing.
So when we're off camera, I'm sure the Elly Wade AI is going to take an SD card and take any sort of information that they would want to learn and just plug it in. So
Yeah.
what would be
Yes.
like what's the next skill that you are going to like plug into your brain and just like download like Neo?
I know Kung Fu.
Oh God, you know, I have a list. On my phone. I've got like notes of things that I want to learn, whether it's things inside of Cinema and Redshift or other things entirely. So ZBrush is absolutely something I want to learn and want to get into. Not only because it's now one of the Maxon tools, but it's something I've never even thought of. Never even thought about like sculpting, especially like getting used to using a tablet and that kind of stuff. So ZBrush is probably the top of my list at the moment. But there's also Houdini. I do want to learn Houdini, and one of the guys, Chad, knows like some stuff, and I was like, hey, I was like, I'll teach you Redshift, you teach me Houdini. Okay, thanks. So Houdini's on that list. And then if I'm going to do something that's like a Cinema 4D thing, rigging, character rigging is one of those things. And I don't mind admitting this. Like, I definitely know like 5% of Cinema 4D, just so everyone knows this. But so rigging is that thing that I really want to find some time where I can spend like a week doing it, because I think that's what you need to do. You need to like take the time, especially with something as advanced as that, and not worry about anything else, not kind of like just watch like the odd tutorial and then 2 weeks later watch another one. I want to find a period of time where I can really learn how to do it.
It's a tough
I see
thing.
what people do. It is.
I feel like I
I'd be
learn a
putting
little
it
at a
off.
time, you know, like I'll have to do a project and do something having to do with rigging, and then I'll like, oh yeah, I remember this, and then the next time I come back and I learn a little more and I learn a little more, but I still, all these years, I feel like I don't have a handle on it at all. So it's tough. It's to me, it's the hardest thing to learn in cinema. I don't know about
It
y'all,
is.
but
So, as someone who is getting into rigging right now, it is very interesting to see how the Cinema 4D workflow operates compared to other software. Because I love cinema and I want to stay in cinema, and I've come up like working on with the Rococo suit. Sam was like, Maya is actually a very, very strong workflow for it, and I've picked up a Maya license since then. But I hate the fact that I have to go to another piece of software. I want to stay in cinema because that's where my render engine is, or if I'm rendering in Unreal, I can bring a lot of the animation stuff into Unreal without having to deal with Unreal's ridiculous animation tools. They
and
work,
it's intuitive, you know.
yeah, not
You
as
want
intuitive as cinema.
Yeah.
So for you, Elly, with rigging, what do you think some of the big challenges that you run into when diving into like either character animation rigging or just like rigging, let's say, more simple things like a book opening or something like that? Because you end up using a joint system for like a book opening, I'm assuming. What are some of the things that you run into that makes learning rigging in cinema challenging?
Well, I think I've not really taken the time to learn it yet either, which is, I think, kind of like the downside. So I've not really done much like rigging, if any. I know sort of like what the tools are and where to find them, but it's such a steep learning curve. And like I said, that I think I need to spend quite a bit of time learning about it. We recently actually did a hands-on series with Joe Herman, who did an entire sort of 6 weeks on rigging, and I was there. I was sort of like doing the hosting and the Q&A, and it was an incredible series. And what I want to do, so he starts like doing like the intros and the fundamentals, and then he goes through a bunch of different topics to learn rigging. And I actually want to go back and be able to actually experience that workshop. Because when, like, as you know, when you're hosting and when you're doing Q&A, you're sort of not necessarily like being able to learn the thing that's in front of you and follow along, because you are managing or producing like a live stream or a webinar. And so, yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any sort of like disadvantages aside from the fact that I haven't had the time to actually learn it enough to be able to give you my disadvantages.
No, that's totally fair, and I too do feel you when you're in the process of doing your job. It's hard to like also set aside the time to learn, because your brain is in two different headspaces for that. If you were to take that week and do a character rigging sort of experience for yourself, what would you create with that new knowledge? Like, what are you looking to do with that?
Oh, that's a great question. Do you know, I haven't even thought that far ahead, because it would be the learning it first. And I think through learning it, like, I don't know whether this is just sort of like my mindset or other creatives have this, as I'm learning something and as I'm sort of like getting to grips with a new tool, it's at that moment when it starts to click, I then go, 1,000 miles per hour ahead and go, oh my God, I want to make this, I want to make that, I want to do this, even though I've only got like 10% of the knowledge. And so I think it would be as I was learning it, I would then realize and think about the cool things that I'd potentially want to create with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's an interesting answer, because sometimes you don't know what your possibilities are until you have the knowledge, and your brain just starts going. It's like, oh, I finally figured out how to get like an IK rig working perfectly. Oh, I want to do these characters. Another thing that I found that's really interesting with character rigging is you obviously need to start with characters. You need a character to animate to use the rig. So now my next question to you is, what would you want to learn first now? Would that be ZBrush so you could make the character, or would you just go into diving into rigging first? And if you would prefer the rigging part, is there what character would you start with?
I love that question. That's a great. So this is going to be my answer, but it's maybe not the best way to go about it. For me, I would learn ZBrush first and spend however long it takes until I finally created something that I was satisfied and happy with, which would probably take a very long time, knowing my learning curve for anything. And I think once I got to a point where I was like, yeah, cool, like this is a really great character, or really great, like whatever, monster or something, I would then be like, okay, from here, I now really want to rig this, because I've spent X amount of time, X amount of hours learning ZBrush and creating this. I feel like at that point, I'd be like, okay, I'm now willing to invest that same amount of time to now animate. And I think I would just, this is bad, I would just find how to rig that exact creature or character, which obviously is not ideal. You want to go through the intro, you want to do the fundamentals and all of that. But I know me well enough to know I'd be like, cool, throw me at the deep end, someone show me how I need to rig this, and just start maybe from like level 10, which is not ideal. But I think that's what I would do. And then hopefully with that knowledge, I'd be like, okay, like maybe I can start doing some other rigging things. But I think if I had a project that I was really passionate about, I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to spend the time on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a fair answer.
That's my honest answer.
Yeah.
No, that's a good answer, because it's like I love Halo, so my first like motion capture animation thing was Master Chief, because two things. One, you don't have to animate the face because he has no face.
Yes.
That's probably why that series is so successful. Because
why do you think people like doing astronauts? Like...
Yeah, exactly. But I think when it comes down to doing character rigging and animation and sculpting, it's just like what speaks to you, because obviously we're humans and we experience the world through like human shape. So it's just like what human is, or what sentient being is going to tell the story. do you have a story or any like are there any particular stories that you really vibe with either in pop culture or media that gets you to want to learn these character animation tools?
Oh, I don't know too much if it's like a if there is like a specific story, but I'm I love like being inspired by like anything that's around or like films and seeing like I'm very much into Marvel, love the Marvel films, and the more I kind of like watch these and the more I'm learning but like the entire industry and all the different workflows, the more I'm like, oh, okay, like I would really love to try and recreate this or like do these sort of like visual effects or like, and so I think it would be being inspired by these incredible moments or incredible things that I see in either like animated films or in like the normal Marvel films that I watch that makes me want to be like really push my skills to like another level. And of course I like the idea of being able to train people on things that do compare to the stuff in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy to be like, this tool does this and you can make this with it. But I think sometimes us as artists, like especially me, like this is how I learn. If I saw something in a film and someone was like, yeah, this is how you make it, that would perhaps mean a little bit more to me than if someone just showed me the tool in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but that's just my own personal sort of like learning experiences. So yeah, those type of films are what inspire me to want to learn these better tools, and then also to then be able to hand this knowledge off to other people. Because I know a lot of people talk about like there's a lot of things you read, maybe not so much now, maybe sort of like I don't know a couple of years ago, but people who create these really amazing things sometimes keep them to themselves. And like you see people go, oh, how do you make this, or what was this made in? And I guess people are super busy, so they can't always say like how it was created. But I like the idea of being like, if I make something and someone's like, how do you do it? I'm like, here, this is how you do it. Here's a tutorial, or have the project file. So I give away a lot of project files of pretty much anything that I create. Luxury of working for Maxon. I'm not creating anything for like an agency or a studio or a company. So I give everything away.
That's awesome.
So I think that's what I would, that's what I'd like to do. I know that super didn't answer the question about like the story, but hopefully it's.
I guess my question was also very convoluted, and it could have been simplified as, what do you get inspired by? And you said Marvel, so that was a good answer.
Yes, absolutely Marvel.
So I'm pretty close to the Marvel world by proximity. My girlfriend works for them doing some stuff, but so we have to be caught up on everything. So we're watching Miss Marvel. Right now we caught up on all the TV shows, etc. Thor I still need to go see. But for you, what Marvel content are you most excited about right now?
Oh God.
No spoilers, because I've seen it, but I'm sure other people haven't.
So not recently, but let's talk like last 6 months or something. The new, and not really new, but the latest Spider-Man was one of the most amazing things I'd seen if we're talking like Marvel Universe. Because sometimes like like the originals are the best, or people say originals are the best, the early stuff's nice. And I thought after I'm not going to say too much because of spoilers, but after Endgame I was like, I'm never watching Marvel again. I won't say why, but because of what happens. If you know, you know. I was like, I'm never watching Marvel again. Like, I'm done. And then obviously 2 weeks later there was a new film and I watched it. So I was like, because I love these characters so much, and that's why when like Black Widow came out later, I loved Black Widow because I love Scarlett Johansson, and I love the way that they're now almost creating this new like group. They're sort of like introducing, like with Hawkeye, introducing sort of like Haley Steinfeld's new character, And then in Spider-Man, with what happened at the end, you can already sort of see like what's going to be happening next. And I only recently, like, shame on me, I only recently watched the new Multiverse of Madness, literally Friday night after VFX and Chill.
Okay.
I only just watched it then. Yeah, stayed up and watched that.
Are you gonna learn
that,
Houdini after watching that?
Oh God, the bit when they are. I mean, this isn't a giveaway, but when they're first going through all the different multiverses, and they do like the different versions of them, when one's like color, one's
yeah.
Like, I'm glad I was watching it by myself, because my friends and my other half hate watching films with me, because I'll be like, oh, that's cool, that's good, that's because I was like, oh my God, this is the most amazing like visual effects I've ever seen. And yeah, I said it out loud and was glad that I was by myself.
It's like, oh my gosh, look at the specular on that, and people are like, the what? Specular. What's
I was like,
specular?
I'd love to know how to do that, like, aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I don't know about you. Have you seen Ms. Marvel?
No. I think that's like my next one that I haven't seen.
It's really awesome, at least for me. I don't know about you, but like being able to watch something and be like, wait, I could do that. So in Ms. Marvel, one of the things that they do is they'll 3D track like a wall in New York City and animate the graffiti on it, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like that's After Effects. That's easy. I mean, the 2D animation part, definitely not easy for me, but like the camera tracking and all that, I'm like, oh, and I wish I could just say and do that. And I don't know about you, but do you feel like when you watch these films and you feel you see something that you could do you feel like the urge to just like go over to the computer and be like, I'm going to do the thing right now because I just prove it to myself that I can, sort of thing? Do you do that?
Absolutely. I feel like if let's say like money was no object and my life was not necessarily a trainer, I think my life would be just recreating these amazing, or trying to recreate these amazing things on Cinema 4D and Redshift. I feel like that's just like if like time was of no like object, I think I would just sit and recreate this stuff. I think that's like you know, we have like these like life goals or industry goals, don't we? And I think kind of like the more I'm learning, the more I'm like, you know what, if I could see my name on one of those end credits at any point in my life, I'd be like, yes, that would be like serious like life goal to check off.
I did that one time in my life, and it was a straight to Amazon like Scooby-Doo movie. That was it.
That
okay.
It counts.
You got to see my name one time.
I've been putting it everywhere.
Yeah. IMDb, here we come. Yeah. What about do you ever get the urge to like work on some of these films someday? Like, you know, not that you would want to leave Max on, but you know, I mean,
I would love to. Like, I would be lying if I was like, no. Like that, honestly, that would be like if I got to work on a film, or I mean any film, but if my name was ever on Marvel, I'm gonna sort of like, what is it when you say something and then you want to kind of make it come true?
Manifesting it.
I'm gonna manifest it with this. Honestly, if I saw my name on there, I think I'd probably like cry for 2 days with happiness.
We have enough friends. We can make that happen. We know Perception, right? Like
that would be just like, that would be amazing, because that would be something I never thought would be possible. But I mean, I feel like every time I hit like a new, I don't know, even like small career stepping stone or small sort of like, I don't know, progression thing, I'm like, this is mad, because I never thought this would happen. Like NAB in Vegas to me was like a mind-blowing experience. First time in America, first time at a live event. And it was such like an amazing experience. Like firsts are so great, and for me, I feel like I'm at the start of my trainer journey. And I mean, people may say that I'm not, but I feel like I am. And so all these things are still new, and all these things are still amazing, and I never thought they were going to happen. But yeah, if I ever did see my name, I'd be like, you know what, Ellie, good for you.
I remember you telling me when we were in Vegas, it was your first time in the States. And I was like, wow, Vegas is your first impression of the U.S. Wow.
Loved it.
That's
Absolutely
it's,
loved it.
it's very different everywhere else. But
It's not, yeah, Vegas does not represent what the United States is, in my opinion. I think come to California, experience LA, to be honest. The food scene is fun. I honestly come to Orange County, but that's a whole separate discussion. You should absolutely do this Halo thing, like recreate the Halo titles, because I don't know. I've really found that if you do the work that you want to be doing, obviously don't leave Max on. But if you do the work that
Max on, I'm not leaving.
But do it on the side as like a fun thing, and don't put too much pressure on it. Like, take your time with it. It doesn't need to be out by any specific time. Make it to the point where you're happy with it. Yeah.
That's something that I haven't had a chance to make a reel in years, and that's something that I'm working on right now, trying to put together, and just going through some of my old stuff and trying to think of what I want my new stuff to be, because it's so true. Like, you want to make the stuff that you want people to hire you to make, and people say it all the time, but like, life happens, and you do client projects, and might not necessarily be the stuff you want to do. So having a side project like that to try those things and then put it out there and say, hey, look what I can do, is great. It really is. It really does help you manifest that by putting the work out there.
I'm going to take both of your advice. And,
I mean, don't take my advice.
But don't leave Max on.
Don't leave Max
no,
on.
No, I love Max on. They're my family.
Good. If you do need help on this Halo project thing, please let me know. I would love to.
I will.
That's awesome. Yeah. We're gonna make sure that we find a way to play Halo with you sometime. I think that'll get it flowing, because there's a lot of new stuff in there. It's a very pretty game, a lot prettier than previous versions of the game. Maybe it'll give you some inspiration. So.
Oh, shall I expense it for that reason?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, this
100%.
I need it for this project that I'm working on.
Oh,
it's research.
It is research.
It's R&D.
It's a write-off.
Exactly. There we go.
Plus, the co-op should be coming out soon. So if you're not super good, like I'm terrible at multiplayer now, so I'm just super stoked for the co-op to come out, and we could all play together on the same team.
Yeah, someone have to tell me the buttons, because I'm used to my PlayStation controller.
Oh, see, like even Maxon agrees here in the chat. Don't leave Max on.
I won't be leaving.
I'm assuming Matthias. Hi, Matthias.
I don't know who that is, actually. Is it Kevin? It might be Kevin. I don't know. I don't know who's done the Maxon account in here. Because usually if it's Kevin, it's Kevin saying he likes Breaking Bad and The Wire. So, speaking of which, we got to do some Mograph recommends. Not yet, though. But what would you have to say?
I was just gonna say, well, we've covered a lot on this Halo thing. Your interest in Mograph, on Marvel, on things that you get inspired by. I was gonna ask, like, do you have any sort of upcoming goals for what you're trying to do with all of this stuff? Like, what's on deck for you?
Yeah, what's next besides Halo?
Besides Halo, I guess it's just continuing with what we're doing with the live streams, because that is what I love to do. Like, I know it's like a big part of my job anyway, but I really do love to be on all and any of these live streams and just covering topics that people want to see. And so I'm coming to the end of like a hands-on series, which I've loved. And I do love creating new ones. So thinking of an entire workshop that's either 4 weeks or 6 weeks. And it's normally based on what people suggest. So I always say to people, like on like Instagram or YouTube or whatever, suggest what you want to see, because we do genuinely read it, we do look at it. And a lot of our conversations when we plan stuff like in months in advance or new workshops is based on a lot of what people ask for. And so I I suppose I haven't really got I'm coming to like the end of quite a busy period. I had a lot of I did a workshop for like School of Motion in June, had this level up series, was also doing demystifying post-production on Mondays. So I'm coming up to a little bit. I've got a couple of weeks off in July, which I'm looking forward to, having a little chill. And then Seagraph is like the next thing. And I'm thinking about what I'm going to be planning, and it's going to be some new Redshift stuff, which I can't talk about until then, but that should be that's sort of what's in the works at the moment. And some other stuff. if people know if people know the Maxon timeline,
yes,
you know what I'm talking about,
right,
basically.
Right.
Those are what are taking my focus at the moment.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Seagraph. Hopefully my passport gets back to me on time so I can make it up there. And I was going to ask you though, did you get to see EJ recently, or are you about to see EJ? I know he's over there.
Yeah, no, so he came over. I was supposed to see him. He did a Mograph meetup, but I had to end up going and picking someone up in London, in like a completely different part of London. And so I was gutted because he was in the UK for a couple of days. He's doing a whole Europe thing, isn't he, for his birthday, right?
For something. I don't know why.
I think it's for, I mean, this could be so wrong, so soz EJ if this is wrong. I think it's for his 40th.
His 40th, yeah.
But as like a thing. And so, he went to, he did UK, so he was in London, then he went to Berlin, I believe. And I think at the moment he's in France.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah. It's funny because initially when Matt was going to be out of town, I texted him and I was like, hey, you want to do this episode with Elly? And he's like, actually, I'm going to be over there. And
he's like,
hanging out with
girl,
her.
Nah.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna be seeing her next week anyway in person. I was like,
I know.
That's cool.
I was so gutted I couldn't go, but it looked like they all had a great time. And I'm sure I'll catch up with him at Seagraph, which would be cool.
Yeah, I can't wait. I love Vancouver. Before we get to Mograph recommends, though, just briefly, I wanted to touch on MoFit a little bit. Because both of y'all are pretty much into some fitness stuff. You had some incredible willpower, I noticed, at NAB, because we were sitting there eating like the worst foods, and you were just still so good. You were still so good, and like, you know, I think Matt was sitting next to you eating the most ridiculous pancakes I've ever seen in my life, and you were like, avocado toast, please.
Okay, so there's a reason behind that. It was because it was a big 4 nights or 5 nights, wasn't it? Late nights.
Oh yeah.
There was a little bit of alcohol involved.
Yes.
And so that's me trying to compensate for destroying my body in other ways.
It was like, I mean, I think it's funny because I had a little bit of willpower. Like I think I might have gotten like, I don't remember what I got, but I was a little hungover, and it was just so funny, the contrast, seeing you and Matt next to each other. But one of the things that always comes up though with motion graphics artists is, you know, we sit in front of a computer constantly, and it's like, how do you make it work? It is a constant struggle with me, because I'll be sitting here and I'm waiting on a render, and hey, I could just eat a handful of chips, you know, or whatever, and then it's all the sitting and more sitting, and then the next day get up and you sit some more. What do you do to keep up the fitness, both of you, to keep up your fitness?
Elly, you go first.
Cool. Yeah. So no, I don't mind.
Go.
I don't mind. Yeah. So that would be the only sort of negative about what we all do, is the sitting kind of like all day on a screen, sort of like, especially when I'm really into a project or into something, like if something starts to click, I find that I'm like leant over, like a little hunchback, it's like leant over, right? Sort of like looking at the screen like this, because I'm like, oh, this is working. And then I kind of have to have a word with myself, like, Elly, come on, like sit back and relax. But yeah, so for me, I wear a Apple Watch, which if people have an Apple Watch, you can set it up so like if you've not stood in an hour, it basically like buzzes you and is like, hey, like get off your ass sort of thing. And I love that because like I said, if I'm into something or into like a project, I almost don't think about getting up. And so it's a great little reminder. And because I work upstairs in my house, so I'll go downstairs, I'll get a drink, I'll just sort of like do a little like stretch the legs every hour, unless I'm on like a live or something, then that can't be done. But the rest of the time is genuinely like keeping fit is one of like my like the important things I like to do in my life. So I play football or soccer as well. So I spend a lot of time doing like what we call training, and I think you guys call practice.
Yeah.
So I do.
Yeah.
I train.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So I said training before, and people were like training, and I was like practice.
Well, here's the thing. I don't play sports, so I train for sports that I don't play.
Right.
Because I just lift. I lift and I do a little bit of cardio just to keep up heart health. But yeah, because we're sitting all the time, we have to do something to otherwise. Like my aunt has instilled the fear of like health ailments. She's like, you have to stand up every 30 minutes because otherwise you'll have a stroke or an aneurysm. And I'm like, oh God. So you say that you train for football. Like what is your training routine look like? Are you a morning person? Do you get your work done in the morning and then do your training in the afternoon? What does that look like for you?
So it's a mix. So I like to have, when it comes to routine, I like to have a bit of like a messed up routine. I don't like to do the same thing over and over again. I like to sort of like change things, like with work and with like life and keeping fit. I like it to be a little bit different, otherwise it becomes like monotonous.
Right.
So our official kind of training, because we're now in pre-season, which is now like very intense, everyone's had their nice like break where you've been like sitting on your bum for 2 months not doing anything. So now it's like, okay, everyone's got like 6 weeks to get fit before the official season starts.
Right.
So we're training officially twice a week with the team. We then have matches on Sunday, and then on the other, sort of that leaves me 4 days, 3 of them I'll go to the gym. I would love to say I go in the morning, but the only time I'd go in the morning is if I have like a late session. So if I have like a session that's like a work session that's like 5 till 6 or 6 till 7, I'm like, okay, cool, I have that time in the morning without having to go at 6 a.m. because I'm a morning person, but I'm not that much of a morning person. Like,
I'm not a morning
in the gym
person.
is not me. Lunchtime I think is great. So again, if I'm doing like a late thing, or if I start earlier, like if I like start at like 7:30 or 8, I then think, okay, cool, I've got like a period of time in the day. Perks of like remote working, it can be quite flexible. So yeah, middle of the day works quite well, but a lot of the time it's sort of like the evening after work.
I like that. I like breaking up the day with it. I can't do that during the summer because in Texas it's literally 100 degrees until it gets dark, so I have to go at dark. But in the wintertime, I like to go at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, get the workout in after I've gotten some stuff done. I've done the emails, I've done the client calls, come back, take a shower, feel refreshed, and sit down, and it's still 5 o'clock, and I still have the evening to work on things. I do like that. It feels like it breaks up the monotony. And the whole standing thing, you get away from the desk and don't get a blood clot.
Yes, yeah, for sure. It is nice to break up the day, isn't it? And sometimes if I'm like today, when I knew like I didn't really have time to go gym in the middle of the day, but I walked to like the nearest shop is like a 15-minute walk. So I thought, cool, I'll walk, get myself some lunch, like it's nice and hot here anyway, and then just walk back. And so that's nice to sort of get a little bit of like exercise in the day.
And you missed your championship game to come to NAB. Didn't you tell me that when we were there?
I missed the final game of our season.
Final game.
Yeah. Final game, yeah.
That's commitment right there.
Yeah.
They were fine. They won. It was cool.
Nice.
That's good. Yeah, it's tough to keep that up. You can have like, I mean, as an artist, you kind of go through ups and downs in work, especially if you're doing contract work, where you have like 10 projects and then you have no projects, or however that goes. And so you might get on a good streak where you're getting to the gym, or you're going running, or you're doing something, and all of a sudden, like 5 clients call up and they all need everything tomorrow. And then before you know it, you're like, God, I haven't even gone and worked out in a week because I literally was working around the clock for however long. And it's tough to keep it up. What do both of you do in order to not slack? I guess.
Well, I'd love to hear your answer, Ellie, because to an extent, I just treat my fitness self as another person. I'm just like, well, I have a meeting with fitness jags, and
Yes.
I would never ever skip that client meeting, or I'd never ever skip a client meeting or something. So just treat myself the same way. But Ellie, what do you do to like
That
make sure that you are there on the field or at the gym?
So that answer is better than mine because I want to have like as much of a balance as I can with like, social life, work, and like keeping fit and those sort of like important things. Those are like the things that I think are like, if you can balance those, like you've got like quite like a nice satisfying life going on. But I also don't become too obsessive about these things. Like they're really important to me, but if, like, for example, like last April when we're prepping for the launch and we're prepping for NAB, I didn't get to the gym that whole week. But I'm like, you know what? No, work has to come first. Like as much as like fitness and my health and everything is important, I eat quite healthy. I'm a healthy person.
Right.
If I don't go to the gym for a week, I'm not going to stress myself out about it because that's then worse for you. Like stress and anxiety, that's not going to help you at all in comparison to like just not going to the gym. So I try not be too like get myself down too much if I don't go. Now with preseason, the Tuesday and the Thursday and the Sunday are like a given. So unless I'm working, I will be there. Like 100% I'll be there. And chances are I won't be working on a Sunday anyway. So I'll be always playing my match on Sunday. And yeah, like Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's like 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. So the chances of me working is very unlikely at those times. And so now in my head, I'm like, okay, I've got like these 3 days and I'm going to try and get to the gym on the other days. If I don't, I'm not going to give myself like too much of a hard time because I used to be like that. I used to not go and then be like really sort of disappointed with myself and like really like stressed out. But it's because I was so busy. It wasn't because I was like sitting in like a bag of crisps watching TV.
Right. Yeah, I always feel like if I'm not working out that week for some reason, like traveling, if I'm eating well, then at least I got half of it right. Or if it's the other way, if I'm not eating well, it's someone's birthday or it's a holiday and I'm not eating well. If I'm at least working out, at least one of those things I feel helps balance things out.
Yeah.
But yeah. Vernon's
Jags, are
chatting
you just committed all the time, like when you do it? Because I would love. Can I have your willpower? Please.
Long story short, when I was in high school, I was about 100 pounds heavier. I was overweight, playing too much World of Warcraft. So I honestly should take a book out of yours, or a page out of your book, because when I do skip, I feel this sense of guilt as if like I had skipped a client meeting or something like that.
Right.
And I am learning to be more flexible with myself, because you're right. When it comes to if you do miss a session but you're still eating healthy, you're still doing something. You don't lose your gains instantly out of nowhere. So when it like for me, I always just look for little opportunities to be to make a healthier decision in the day. So it's like if I have to microwave my food, for example, it's like, I will stretch or something, or I'll do some push-ups really quick, because it's like I was just going to sit there. Or if I have to kick off a render, and fortunately for Unreal, we're not dealing with like 3-hour renders, we're dealing with like 10 minutes. I'll go for a 10-minute walk around my block or something. Or something like that. It's like looking for those little opportunities where I can be a more active person without trying to like go ham all the time now. Because if I had the choice, I would have my own office with a squat rack right behind me, and like, all right, render's going,
Render.
let's go,
Yeah.
But I don't have that right now, so it's just like,
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I'd like that.
Right?
Yeah, it's like what Matthias says when we're on the road. He's like, just earn your shower. That's what he says. You're not going to work out. At least earn your shower today. You know, help somebody lift some boxes.
Yeah,
You know, do
yeah.
a couple push-ups in the hotel room. Something. You know. And
Yeah.
Vernon's been training. You know, he's in the chat. He said you treat it like a client meeting. I do that. I do put my runs on the calendar, and I try and make sure that, oh, it's a 45-minute run. Okay, well, that's a 2 or 3 hour slot, because you've got to stop what you're doing. You're probably going to be running a little behind. You got to go get your clothes, change, get your stuff on, get your headphones, make sure everything's charged, go do the thing, come back, take a shower. It's going to be longer than you think, you know. So I try and pad it, schedule meetings around that, you know, especially during the winter when my afternoons are like that. But something that helps, of course, is having a partner that, you know, you can do that stuff with too. Like Julie started running with me, so it's like, okay, well, she's got this on her agenda, so like I'm not going to screw up her schedule, so I'm going to go, you know.
Right.
So
Yeah, I definitely
Elly,
agree with it being it being on like the calendar or the schedule. Like for me, like when I look at my watch and it's like, okay, it says the gym, or on my calendar it says the gym or something. It really kind of like puts it into your mind, and then it's something you're thinking about, as opposed to being like, oh, I've got some time, maybe I'll go, maybe I won't.
Because like you won't, you know, if you don't put it down, you know, you know, I got into this project, I didn't go today. And then it happens the next day, and then it happens the next day, and.
All right, I have a question for you, Elly. When you, let's say, and I know the answer for me, but for you, if there's like, let's say a weekend where like the weekend after Christmas, where you're probably eating a bunch of food, maybe having a couple extra drinks and whatnot, and then you sit at the computer to do work, versus having a regular week routine where you're doing your exercise, you're eating your avocado toast, etc. How do you feel sitting at the computer doing art, just like physically? Do you feel more productive or less productive when you are under those two different circumstances?
I would say I'm less productive. I think because I'm, especially like if we're talking like the Christmas period, I normally have like, it's about 10 days off, like, and so to then be completely like, what's nice about like Christmas and 10 days off is you completely switch off. And it I guess it's perhaps different for someone who's like a freelancer or works in a studio that knows they have potentially still a deadline or work to do. But for me, everything is sort of like, we tie everything up in December, and then we have that nice break where you do just have family time, have friend time, not thinking about work. And so that first day back, it's really strange, because even though you're maybe rested, depending on how wild you are, like normally I'm very not rested after the Christmas break, because it's like Christmas and New Year. And so I come back and I'm normally a little bit more tired. I'm a little bit more out of the flow of my kind of like working routine. And normally like I've probably been lying in a little bit more, a couple of late nights, sort of. I have to get it normally takes me probably the week to get back into the normal flow of sort of like getting up and being like, okay, you're sitting down, you've got to be productive, or you try and be productive for X number of hours of the day. And so it's normally, like a slower sort of start to my year, or after any sort of break, unless there's something exactly going on sort of like that first week. But what about you guys?
For me, I'm reading this one book right now called The Artist Way, and it talks about how to find your inner artist. And one of the things that it really leans into is treating yourself like a precious object, treating it well. And then I have a couple other books that are like, when you eat high quality food, like high quality nutritious food, like fruits and vegetables and lean protein and whatnot, the brain just works better. Like versus when you're eating orange chicken and McDonald's fries and whatever else. I don't know, but I just feel sluggish. Like when I'm trying to do
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
my leg press session or my leg day, and I'm fueled up on a bunch of garbage, I'm like, oh God, this hurts. But when I'm like, I have high quality carb sources, it's not, there's no sugar crash. I have just enough caffeine where it's not like jittery. I feel really awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, I very much believe that when you treat your body well, you end up producing better work because you're fueling it with the resources it needs to function correctly.
That's
What
why
about you, Dave?
I'm a big fan of intermittent fasting for that reason, because when I'm really on my diet and I'm doing the intermittent fasting thing, the energy level just stays the same all day.
Mhm.
And that applies to, a number of different things, but and it's not the same for everybody either, but for me, even if I am doing a low carb diet, which I do a lot, if I eat in the afternoon, I get that crash. It doesn't matter if I'm eating broccoli or, it doesn't matter what it is. I get that crash. And it's just something about my own body, and I hate that feeling. I hate coming back from lunch 2 in the afternoon, sitting at the desk, trying to drink more caffeine to try and stay there, and you just want to take a nap. I do not like that. And so my best element is the wintertime when I take that 2 or 3 in the afternoon run, and I come back. I'm still not hungry because I'm still just on the high from running, and I come back to the desk and I have energy. You get those endorphins that you get after running, and I just go at it. That's my favorite part. I know that's not for everybody doing the intermittent fasting or even doing low carb, but however you can maintain an energy level that doesn't make you crash, I think is, because there's nothing worse than being tired and trying to work on a project, especially a client project that you have to get done.
So. I've found that with health and fitness is that there is no recipe for everyone. Everyone is different. Everyone has their own little thing that makes them the most successful and productive and happy. Elly, what do you think is your number one thing that keeps you really just happy with your overall lifestyle?
Oh, if we're still talking fitness and everything,
It could be anything.
Or anything. I mean,
what keeps you in your flow state?
There's a lot of things.
The flow state when you're talking about when you're leaning into the computer, what would interrupt that you stay away from, that to keep that from happening?
So, I think the thing that I like to avoid, this is going to be a really weird answer, but when I'm in that flow state, I avoid kind of social media or messages or anything, because
that's good.
That I know that's I could just quickly check a message, it takes 5 seconds, or I could check an Instagram DM or whatever, but if I'm doing that every single time I get one or I have one, that would equate to so many interruptions, and it stops your flow. And if we're talking when we're in a flow, if we're creating something or when we have a deadline, I very much at the moment now, my phone, I've not got my watch on, so I haven't got my notifications coming through, my phone is down, and I don't have the urge or the need to look at it. So that's probably the thing. If we're talking something that I avoid, that's definitely when I'm busy is something that I avoid. So if people do DM me on Instagram, because I'm very open, please message me your questions. If I'm not replying, it's because I'm very much into something and I'm this far away from the screen.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah,
it's every blip and boop and bing and notification icon is a distraction. And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'm only going to check my email when I decide to check my email, not every time it beeps, because it might just be some random newsletter, that came in, from something, and you're you don't need to look at that right now.
Yeah, I almost have times of the day. This isn't my definite, I wouldn't not reply to family or something if I'm doing something important. But if I was to reply like on like work related Instagram things, I have like a period of time of my day or my week that I will then respond to those. And I do the same like with a lot of like, so the important team, like we deal with teams at Maxon, the important teams messages I reply straight away, but there are some that I will then have like the time of my day, and the same with emails. I have certain times of my day, so I know almost when I'm going to be in cinema, when I'm going to be productive, when I'm doing a live show, that these things do not matter to me unless it's like an urgent, important thing that comes in, which is quite a nice way to live.
I think that's your official life hack for our Mograph Recommend segment. I think that's a good life hack. So you won't have to think of one when we get to that question. So
she might have another good one, like the French toast or grilled
that's
cheese
true,
one.
The grilled cheese. Let's do that actually. Let's go through it. I don't think I gave you these ahead of time, so these might be a surprise. We'll kind of lightning round it here. But these are the things that influence you. I think some of these we're gonna have a good idea now of what the answers are gonna be, and these can be like favorites recently or all time. It doesn't matter. You can just bring up whatever. We already saw that that Kevin did reply and say he loves Breaking Bad and The Wire in the chat, so we got that covered. So we'll start with your favorite movie.
Oh God.
Doesn't have to be Marvel.
Well, it is going to be, but to
Right.
choose which one. Oh, okay. Original Captain America.
All right.
Okay.
Like first.
That's
Captain
legit.
America.
Yeah, 100%. That's a fantastic film. Okay.
That's
Now-
a tough. That's tough question to answer though.
Yep.
Now I'm wondering if this next one is going to be similar because this is favorite TV show.
Oh, ooh, okay.
Got like a WandaVision or something to go. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay. WandaVision was incredible, but if I'm talking about what I watch probably most frequently,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's a toss up. The
You can
Simpsons.
give two. The Simpsons.
Okay.
Oh
The
yes,
Simpsons.
love it.
Yep.
I do
Yep.
love Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But Simpsons, I'm really watching like all because it's one of those things that I don't need to concentrate. I don't like if I miss one, I'm not gonna like cry about it. If I'm making my dinner, it can just be on, and
Yeah. Okay.
big fan.
Seasons 1 through 10 are the best, but
Originals are the best.
yeah, absolutely. The next one is favorite music.
Oh God, this is also a really hard question. So just to clarify,
Mm-hmm.
alongside 3D, music is probably on par with how much I love the two.
Okay.
That's how much I love music. Play the guitar as well.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, look at what I'm going down here. Okay, so I'm gonna go tech house is probably my favorite, but I do love like acoustic pop music. So
Do you
I
have
could list
some
people,
artists?
but-
Yeah, list some people
Yeah.
so we get some context.
Yeah.
Okay, so tech house wise, or like any generic house, Bicep
Okay.
is who I listen to quite a lot at the moment. Bicep, yeah. And then acoustic pop punk, Jack Garrett and Tom Grennan.
Mhm.
Do you
are my
have different
guys.
things you listen to when you're working as opposed to just around the house?
Yes. So I'm one of those weird people where I don't like to mix genres in the same playlist.
Yes.
So in my head, I genuinely love like a whole wide range of music, but I don't like, if I'm in the car or if I'm listening to a playlist, I don't want it to go from like house to acoustic. Like that's not like, I can't be like dancing around the kitchen and suddenly someone's doing some emotional piano. I can't,
Yeah.
I can't
The
have
theme from
that.
Titanic comes on.
Yeah, but I do
Yeah.
love them for different purposes. So like I've got like playlists for the different playlists for the gym, different playlists for running, because like I don't know, do like weights and sprints and hip stuff versus having a nice little 5k jog.
Yeah.
Different mood. Stuff at work. sometimes I put the radio on because it's nice to have, because I'm on my own in the day, it's nice to have like another person talking. So sometimes I'll just stick like the radio on. In the car, depends what I'm doing. If I'm getting psyched for football, some dance house music. If we're driving back from football and we've lost, it's some acoustic music.
Do you listen to podcasts?
Yes. I suppose I can say it. My dad wrote a porno. Have you?
Okay.
No, that sounds familiar though.
Okay. If you have not listened to My Dad Wrote a Porno, basically it's 3 people in the UK, and I think they're like, one's a comedian, one's a radio presenter. They're all like relatively like celebrity kind of people. And one of them's dad, genuinely, at the age of like 60 or 70, has started writing like erotic literature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this man is not a writer. He's just doing this story.
Okay.
And basically what they do is they read out a chapter on this podcast for the first time, so that none of them have ever heard it. It is to the point where I used to listen to it when I used to drive to work, and I would be in tears, like laughing in tears in traffic, because it was like, honestly, I'd seriously recommend it. It is the funniest thing. Not only their comments, but apparently like the punctuation's all like wrong. Like there was one chapter had like no punctuation. There was like no full stop. And so it's like all of that, and they comment on it, and the story itself is just hysterical, and it's become this massively popular thing in the UK. And I think there's like another book now, and it's I'd recommend it.
Okay.
And Sean has a good question here. Who do you support football wise? Who's your team?
So my family's team are Crystal Palace. So it's a London team. So all my mum's side of my family, which is quite a big one. So let me just open the blind a little bit. So
Forgot
the
it's
Eagles,
getting late there.
Crystal Palace, get a bit dark.
It's like 8. What is it? 8 o'clock there almost? Something like that.
10-2.
Yeah.
No, this is okay. We'll do it. Yeah. So Crystal Palace, Eagles.
Now, if you pick up your phone and your muscle memory hits an app, what app is that?
TikTok.
Yeah. Same.
Love a bit of
I don't have it on
TikTok.
my phone anymore.
So good.
I probably shouldn't, because I can just sort of have a little.
Oh gosh, I get caught up for hours.
Yeah, that's
dangerous.
my go-to.
I learn a lot though. I learn a lot about 3D and all that kind of stuff on it, and audio. And what about plugin? Non-render engine plugin. What is your favorite plugin? Are you contractually obligated to say like Red Giant?
No, let's not do a Maxon thing.
Outside of Maxon,
outside of Maxon, favorite plugin, X Particles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
That's the common.
favorite video game.
Fortnite.
Oh,
Okay.
really? Okay.
I'm playing a lot of Fortnite at the moment, so I'm going to say Fortnite.
Alright.
And my mates are now really into it, so we play squads a lot. I was playing last night, actually.
I hear that it's better now that they've gotten rid of all the building in the regular.
Yes, I
That was
play
all-
no build.
Yeah.
Like, fair play to those people who do, but
Right.
if you're building like the Eiffel Tower, I'm just going to run in the other direction.
Right. That's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother game right there,
Mm-hmm.
Like, people were
Yeah.
so good at that, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I just want to shoot people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So since no build, I've got really into it again. I love it. A bit of Fortnite. I do like FIFA as well, though. Got to just shout out a little
of course.
footballer in me.
Of
Loves a
course.
bit of FIFA.
Mm-hmm.
And then what about, do you have another life hack you want to add in there by any chance? You had, okay, so we always give the example that Mitch Myers gives, which is turn the toaster on its side for some bomb-ass grilled cheese. And so, you were talking about like some real hardcore life hacks before, but do you have any funny life hacks or more kind of off the beaten path life hacks?
Do you know, I don't know. I don't know what I'd class as a life hack.
I mean, the non-notification thing I think feels like a really good life hack.
Yeah, that's a good one. Like I would,
Yeah.
yeah, take my watch off as well to sort
Mhm.
of not have my notifications, because you look, because of course you do, because it
Yeah.
buzzes, and then you're like, oh, maybe I should reply to that. So
Every little
that's probably,
bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably my main one. And I
Yeah.
guess one that isn't like, this isn't really like a actual life hack, this is just like something that I do in life, is not to be too obsessed about all of these things that like we've all been talking about. Like it's very easy to become obsessed with work, or obsessed with like eating healthy, obsessed with like fit and exercise, but realistically everything in moderation, and
Right.
accepting that and dealing with that, and not getting, because stress is probably the worst thing. Like stress and worry is probably worse for you than having like a Mackey's or a McDonald's, sorry. Shorthand. So not to, yeah, I think not to be too kind of like, it's all about balance, nice bit of
Right.
balance, and then like then things don't really matter as much. Like if you've eaten healthy one day but you didn't exercise, then you're still good. If you're doing those things and you ate a takeaway and you feel great about it, you do you. That's good.
Yeah.
One of the
I have one other question to add to this list. Favorite exercise?
Ooh.
Favorite exercise? Ooh. I mean, my favorite one will be one that I probably hate because it actually does more. Leg press. So I did some serious gymming last Monday, and I genuinely like I couldn't walk for like 3 days. Do not recommend. But yeah, leg press, a little bit.
Okay, are we talking like a standard like Cybex leg press, or are we talking hack squat, or are we talking like there's different types of leg press?
I know some of those
Oh God.
words.
Oh God, I do not know those words. I'm talking one where you put the weights on and it's like here,
you're like,
and I
okay,
stood
yeah,
sharp,
stand,
and
yeah,
I'm sort of
leg
like
press.
leant back, and then I have to pull the bar and do it, the manual bar. Yeah, that
Yeah.
one.
That's the standard one.
Because then I feel
a
like
great
I'm laying
machine.
down exercising, so it's like, it's amazing.
Yeah. I've got a good another kind of life hack thing, and I'm sure anyone listening has probably heard of the whole idea before of like using a timer when you're working, right? And I've heard of it before. I tried it here and there, like with something on my computer. It's something. If you've ever watched a presentation, Max on when Beeple is on, and he sets a timer, and he's like, "Nope, we got 45 minutes. Here we go," and he starts that timer. He's doing things in chunks and sections. I'm really enjoying this idea right now, and I'll tell you what kind of got me on it. It was a TikTok that was showing off this device, and I just really liked it. And it's this timer, and it looks like a Nest, one of the thermostats that you have on the wall. But it looks like a Nest, and what's cool about it is you turn the ring on the outside. If you turn it fast, it turns the minutes. If you turn it slow, it will do the seconds, and you can adjust the seconds. And you start it, and every time it finishes, it resets back to that time, and you just hit the button and you go again. So I've been using 2 different times. One of them is based on a concept that humans really are only good at doing tasks for about 20 minutes at a time. So if I'm doing these generic tasks, checking emails, doing all of this, I will start the 20-minute timer. What it does is keeps me aware of how much time I'm consuming and how much time I'm wasting. If I'm in a flow state kind of a thing where I'm working on my own personal art, or I'm, leaning forward into the screen in Cinema 4D, I will do 45 minutes, because I feel like you need 45 minutes to really get into something in art or whatever. If you're in the flow state, your 45 minutes is up, you're still into it, immediately hit the button again, do another 45 minutes. If you're not going to do another 45 minutes, get up, take a break, do your thing. But I'm telling you, I've just been sitting here hitting that button over and over, and it has been, I don't know, it's been really great for me.
Send me the link. I might buy one.
All right, it's
Yeah,
only
that's
15
interesting.
bucks. Yeah.
Okay.
I saw it on TikTok. I didn't click the link. I just went to Amazon and found it. But yeah, I'll have to look up the name here. And Sean says Pomodoro technique. Maybe that might be it. I don't remember. It's been so long. Pomodoro timer. Yeah, that's what it is. There's something that you can get for your computer, but there's something about having the physical timer, and it's on the desktop. It looks cool. It's easy to control. I'll try and see right here on Amazon right now if I can find the name of it. It is called.
I want it because it looks cool. That's why I buy things.
It's so funny the way that they do titles of things on Amazon. This is kitchen timers, digital classroom timer for kids, large magnetic LED countdown timer with constant light function for classrooms, quiet for children and teachers. That's what it's called. The brand is Bosai, Bosai. So if you look that up on Amazon, you could probably find it. But I'm telling you, it's a cool little thing. Apparently, it's magnetic. I didn't realize that.
What was the brand you said?
Bosai, Bosai. Rotary countdown timer. It's just a perfect little timer.
Got it.
I love it. Love it.
Got it.
So, yeah.
Bye
all right,
now.
y'all. I am about to go on vacation. And so I think we're going to wrap it up and get out of here. Elly, thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing your world with us and your experience and giving us some insight on what goes on at Maxon. And
no, thank you so much for having me on. It's been great chatting with you guys.
Yeah. If people want to find you on the internets, where can they find you?
So Instagram is my sort of go-to, and it was Elly. So at it was Elly.
It was Elly.
Elly with a Y.
And it still is Elly.
And it is. Yeah. So that's where people are more than welcome to drop me a DM, message me on there. If you've got any questions or anything, want to see tutorials or, topic suggestions, just let me know. And yeah, I'm pretty active on there, but not when I'm this close to a screen.
And we'll be seeing you at SIGGRAPH as well. That'll be fun.
Yes,
check out all the
I'll
sites
be there.
there. That'll be cool. And Jags, thanks for filling in for Matt today as well.
Yeah, I'm glad I could help fill the seat. And Elly, it was really good to catch up with you. Hopefully we can maybe work on something soon, or at least hang out. And maybe we can do a leg training session together, and then you can take me to do some sprints afterwards.
And then
that
work on
sounds
Halo.
great. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a great day. Yeah, no, it was great to hang with you too, Jags, again. It was lovely.
Yeah, and Jags, what are your socials too, for people listening?
At John Jagsney, pretty much just across the board. Twitter, Instagram. I've deleted all social media off my phone. I have been so invested in learning character animation stuff right now that I'm just like, get it away from me. I'm going to go into a hole and come out with a bunch of new skills. So I have not been very active as of late because I'm just like trying to figure out some more high level technical stuff, and social media is not conducive to that. So
yeah, I get that. I've been apologizing to a lot of people lately because I'll come back and someone sent me a message like weeks ago on social or whatever. It's not that I don't want to talk to you. I do want to talk to you. It's just sometimes I don't check it as often as I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna get out of here. You can rate us on iTunes, leave a review on your podcatcher of choice. Helps get our ratings up. You can subscribe to all the things on there, and give us a shout. info@mograph.com. You can say you've been there, done that, got the t-shirt with the Mograph logo tee, the Paul Babb Fuel the Bab 2020 shirt. All the profits from that go to Doctors Without Borders. The Render Things t-shirt, hoodie, and long sleeve tee, the Mograph Blandishment shirt, and that Render is Fire shirt, which you are only allowed to wear ironically, unless you're Shams. And we are on YouTube, mograph.com. Check us out there for all the latest on schedules and things like that. And check out Mograph TV if you want to watch more 24/7, including many of the Maxon sessions, the long Maxon sessions play on there as well. So if you are bored on a weekend or something, put it on your TV, and learn something instead of watching reruns of something. It's a lot more educational. If you're at work, if you're in a studio or something, put it on. We'll keep you company. Check out a Maxon presentation. Check out one of our reruns of our shows. Check out some of Jag's stuff. Jag's stuff is on there too. And you know, if you're feeling down, feeling lonely, have a friend right there.
Yeah.
So that about wraps it up. Until next time, I'm Dave.
I'm Jags.
I'm Elly.
Have a good one. Later, yo.
Music, cue. Good job, friends. We did it.
Yay.
What's up, everyone?
I'm gonna excuse myself to use the restroom really quick. I'll be right back.
All right, hold on. I'll